Hello everybody, and welcome to The Password Game, the torture chamber where you need to create a secure enough password in order to win. Creating this password took me nearly 4 hours to do, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I did it. It started out with just some basic little rules of just putting in some letters, uppercase, special character, numbers, and then you get to the first tricky rule, rule number 5, where all your digits need to add up to 25. Now this ended up being a huge problem later on as a bunch of the other rules would add more numbers and it would just complicate everything. After a few more pretty basic rules to fill out the password, we get to the first interesting one where we need to put in the answer to today's Wordle. Today's Wordle answer? Wait, like actually? So I went ahead and played Wordle really quickly, got the answer, and threw it in the password. We then need to get an element symbol and the current phase of the moon emoji. And after that, we reach our first roadblock, which was the GeoGuessr. Include the name of this country. Alright, lucky guess. Dang it. Unfortunately for me, I've never played GeoGuessr. I have no knowledge of geography whatsoever, so this took me a while. And throughout this I had to reset many times to get new locations, but it took me way too long. Where am I? Run it back, run it back. This is impossible. Taupo Gisborne. Look it up, look it up, look it up, look it up. New Zealand! Yes! So after I finally got that, I was able to move on to the next rules. Then I got to my next hardest section, where I had to put in algebraic chess notation. The best move in algebraic chess notation. Magnus Carlsen, help! Magnus Carlsen, help! What do you mean? Who do you think I am? Unfortunately for me, I didn't know anything about that. And I've only played chess for like a week in my life before. So this got me stuck up for a long time. However, a wise man once said, don't think smarter, use an AI. So I went ahead and found a website where I could put all the pieces and calculate the next best move for me to make, so I could finally solve this. I am figuring this thing out! Don't mind me listening to an Angry Birds playlist, I need something to help deal with the stress of this game. Yes! Golly, bro! Do you know what algebraic chess notation is? Cause I don't! Yeah, I was pretty stressed out. This is my chicken Paul, he hasn't hatched yet, please put him in your password to keep him safe. Got it, boss, no problem. Little did I know, this would become one of my biggest problems throughout the rest of this game. You'll see what I mean. But the next rule had all atomic numbers needed to add up to 200. Now this became a massive issue where anytime I put in any letters that happened to be an element, I would have to mix around everything for it to add up to 200. Unfortunately for me, my algebraic chess notation had an element in it that was way too big of a number and there was just no way I was able to make it work. Is this even possible? 111, bro? Which then forced me to reset my password and try again. After resetting, I was able to pass that rule and go to the next rule, where all vowels needed to be bolded. Now this ended up being very annoying, as every time I added another vowel, I needed to make sure it was bolded, and another rule later on conflicted that and made it very annoying. But as I was making all the vowels bolded, I got distracted by the Angry Birds music that I was listening to, and ended up missing the most crucial rule that made me have to completely reset my password once again. Your password is on fire, put it out? Why is my password on fire? Stop it! Stop! Stop! So while I was busy checking out an Angry Birds song, my entire password burned to smithereens, and I had to re-put all the information in. I eventually got back and was able to move through a few more easier rules, and then finally, Paul hatched, creating one of the most annoying rules out of this entire thing. Paul has hatched. Please let me forget to feed him. He eats 3 every minute. This made it so I had to constantly put more caterpillars for Paul to eat over and over, and if I were to forget about it, Paul would die and I'd have to reset the entire password again. Now, I thought I could outplay this and just spam a bunch of caterpillars, but then this happened. Every minute? Alright. Overfed? Paul? No. No, please. 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 Please, Paul! Please! Yeah, so then I had to reset my entire password. And after that, I was so scared of overfeeding him that I never went above 3 the entire time. and it was so annoying having to refill that in over and over and over, and I couldn't look away from it for more than like 10 seconds. I got back to where I was and got to the next most annoying rule. With the URL of a 13-minute, 48-second long YouTube video. This was terrible, as first of all, finding a video with that exact timestamp was pretty difficult, but then if anything in that URL conflicted with any other rule, that URL I wouldn't be able to use it, and it was so annoying. I had to find 5 different videos until I finally got one that worked. So after scouring through YouTube, I finally found a video that was able to carry me through the rest of this game. There is one capital letter and it is a Z. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Bold everything, I don't care. What? What? A sacrifice must be made. Pick 2 letters that will no longer be able to use. Luckily for me, I ended up choosing 2 letters that I barely had to use at all, and it caused me very little issues. Your password must contain twice as many italic characters as bold. Now this rule was super annoying, as the one rule where every vowel needs to be bolded, every time I added a vowel, I would need to add 2 more italics, and it was just so annoying because I've already bolded the entire password just so I don't have to worry about the vowels, and this made it so I had to unbold all those, italic a bunch of them, and then here I learned that apparently this game is saying that Y is a vowel. I have never heard this in my entire life, but apparently it's like a semi-vowel or something. I have no idea. But that was one of the most annoying things. It probably took me like 45 minutes until I figured out that it was Y that was the vowel. Rule 27 was just fine, and then Rule 28, I had to find the hex code of a color, which this was annoying for a bit, until I eventually just decided to look for a color that had no numbers in it. Any numbers would contradict with the Rule 5, where the numbers need to add up to 25. So fortunately I found the one color with no numbers, and I was able to move on. Rule 29 was a breeze, and then Rule 30 was super annoying. The font size of every digit must be equal to its square? Numbers like 0, 1, and 2 would be so small that I could barely see them, and later it caused me probably 30 minutes of wasting time because I didn't know that I had a tiny little 2 sitting in the corner of my password. Every instance of the same letter must have a different font size. This rule was also super annoying as I just had to go through and change all my font size, and unfortunately for me, I had the idea to spam a bunch of G's down in order to fill out some other rules, which I then had to get rid of all those and rearrange my entire password. Rule 32 was very annoying as I had to include the number of the length of my password, so anytime I added more to the password, I had to increase the number, and this also contradicted with Rule 5 where it needs to add 25, and the rule right after this also messes with it. Okay, 33. Length of password must be a prime number. Yeah, so this now forced me to have a specific number for how long my password needs to be, which became so annoying to try to organize. I settled on the number 191 as it was the number I was closest to that wasn't too high of digit mounts, so it wouldn't go over 25. Password must include the current time. Now this again was super annoying because at this point there was nothing I could change in terms of my numbers. My numbers were so close to being locked in because of the YouTube URL and other rules. But luckily this was the moment where I found the hidden 2 in the corner that I didn't need, and I was able to put my time in as 2 AM so that I could complete this password. Now this part I think I got the most lucky on. As for some of the other rules I was confused on, I looked up how to do them, and luckily I saw at the very bottom of one of the websites saying that at the very end you need to make sure that you copy your password because the very last part will ask you to retype your entire password. So if I didn't know that, I would have just hit yes at the very end and just completely lost and wanted to redo everything again. I'm done. I am done. Yeah, so this game was an absolute nightmare, and I recommend that none of you play this because it is just so annoying. You have to keep track of so many things, and Paul having to constantly feed it. I probably could have fed it more than 3 at a time, but I didn't want to risk it, and it was the worst gaming experience of my entire life. Well, that's gonna be it for this stream. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications bells so you get notified every time I go live or upload a video or a short. Adios, see you in the next one. Peace out. Subscribe or I'll make this your password.